Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well, and I hope you'll enjoy this collection of all of my Midjourney tips and tricks from 2024. I do apologize for most of the title cards having the incorrect number on them, but there will be timestamps below to help you find what you're looking for. I've already started compiling tips for next year, and if you want to be the first to learn about them, you can join us over in the Future Tech Academy. I'd love to see you there. Now on to the video. Tip number 1. When you're trying to recreate an image, make sure you use the image weight parameter and use a value of 3. Here we have this picture of Kylo Ren, and if I wanted to recreate this inside of Midjourney, we're going to include it as an image prompt and include --IW and then a value of 3 at the end of our prompt. To image prompt on Discord, you're going to hit this little plus button beside the message box. We would go to upload file, and then you're going to find the picture you want to recreate on your computer. Once you see the file here, make sure you hit enter. That will send it in the chat. Now what you want to do is start a prompt, and then we're going to click on our image and drag it into the prompt box. If we try to run this prompt right now, it's going to tell us it's not going to work because we can't use just one picture. We actually have to add either another picture or some text. So this is where we're going to describe our picture a little bit. I'm going to write a Star Wars villain with a red lightsaber. Super simple. But at the end of the prompt, I'm going to write --IW. I'll leave a space and then I'll put a value of 3. I'm also going to specify an aspect ratio that matches our original picture. --IW stands for image weight, and previously we could only use a value of 2. Recently in version 6, we've been able to use a value of 3, and these are the results. This is a pretty amazing way of recreating an image. But I have to warn you, this is pretty close to plagiarism, so please have some discretion and respect for other artists. Tip number 2. If you want to quickly combine images but don't want to add words to your prompt, you can use the /blend feature. On Discord, you would type /blend into the prompt box. Down here beside the prompt box, you can click on +4 more to then add images 3, 4, and 5. And you can specify the dimensions here as well. You'll then click on these boxes to upload individual pictures. What do you think these are gonna make? And when we hit enter, Midjourney is going to blend your images together without needing to add extra words in your prompt. And look at these, those are unreal. You can have a lot of fun with the blend feature. Tip number 3, to generate for an exact color, use that color as a character reference. Character reference is the newest Midjourney feature as of this moment. It allows you to add an image link that specifies the type of character you want to see. Traditionally, this would be used for a person's face, but you can also use it for color and have that exact color show up in your generation. So if I prompted for something simple like a blue dress, and then I added --CREF to signify the character reference parameter, and then I included an image link of a specific color. In this case, I have a turquoise color saved as a shortcut. --Turk is going to expand into this specific color. And then there you go, we have a turquoise dress. You can use this for any color, even gradients, and even textures. Character reference can be used for a lot of things. Let me know if you found any use cases that I didn't know about. Tip number 4, use emojis in your prompt. In fact, this is one way to get super unique images. Why does this work? I don't really know, but if you input emojis in your prompt, it's not going to create images of those emojis. It's going to do something a little weird. Let me show you. So in our prompt box, if we go over here on the right and click on this little emoji button, we can scroll down and start searching for emojis. Like, let's take this picture of a crying cat, or maybe this is a joyful cat. If we hit enter, I'm not guaranteeing that a cat will show up. In fact, I'm really not sure if it will at all. Okay, yes, we get a cat in 2, 3, and 4, but not number 1. And number 2 is a very unique picture to say the least, and all we had to do was put that one emoji in our prompt. As a matter of fact, you can combine emojis for even more unique and random images. Let's combine a fairy. Let's try this rotating light. I guess that's a police siren. And let's try... and let's try a ninja. What do you think these are going to create? Pretty random indeed. Maybe you'll find some fun with this. Tip number 5, write your prompts using permutations to save yourself some time. This is going to cost you some of your fast hours though. Basically, what a permutation allows you to do is to write more than one prompt at once so that you don't have to write the prompts over and over again. Like here, I knew I wanted to see Clifford the big yellow dog, the big green dog, and the big blue dog. But I didn't want to have to write those one after the other, So what you can do is write each of the changes inside of squiggly brackets. I don't know what the correct term for those squiggly brackets are, but that's what I'm going to refer to them as. And you're going to separate each change with a comma. When we hit enter, it's going to ask us if we're sure that we want to generate those 3 prompts. We can click on show prompts, and you'll see that we're creating Clifford the big yellow dog, the green dog, and the blue dog. Again, that's just a way to save time so you didn't have to write those 3 prompts out one after the other. You'll want to use permutations when you know what you're looking for, and when you know you're going to be writing these prompts anyways, you can just write them all at once. And trust me, this is going to save you time in the long run. There's the green dog, the blue one, and the yellow. Those are pretty cool. Tip number 6, earn some free fast hours from Midjourney by rating images on the Midjourney website. Over on the Midjourney website, midjourney.com, you'll see this little thumbs up button on the left side. This is going to provide you with 2 images, and all you have to do is choose which one you like more. This is going to help the bot learn our preferences, and in exchange for that information, Midjourney is going to reward you with 1 free fast hour if you're in the top 2,000 people who rate images over a single day. I'll choose Godzilla here, and then something like this might be a little more difficult when the prompts are the same. Midjourney is trying to find out which of these you like more. It's a tough choice. I'm gonna go with the left side here. And I think I like this pin. Tip number 7, use /info on Discord to see how many prompts you have ran in your lifetime. Type /info, hit enter, and it's going to bring up all of your information. Tip number 8, the best way to explore what a prompt really has to offer is to combine the repeat parameter with a little bit of chaos. Let's try something like this. Mecha anime animal, vibrant energy convulsion. I don't really know what this is going to create, but if you run this prompt once, you're really only seeing 1 instance out of 4 billion. Now, what I'm suggesting isn't going to change that very much, but it will help you understand that prompt a little bit more. We're going to add a little bit of chaos, --C space, and then a very low value. I'm talking like 2 or 3 tops. And then we're going to type --repeat space and then a number. Not a very high number. I think maybe 30 is the most you can go. Not really sure about that. The limit is 40. I'm going to go with repeat 4. This is sort of similar to a permutation. It's going to ask you if you really want to generate those 4 prompts. So if you ran the prompt once, this is what you would find. Pretty cool. But what else does this prompt create? Well, it can make something like this. I'm a big fan of number 1 and number 3. Or maybe it'll create something like these. Again, I like number 1, number 2 is pretty cool, and number 4, I kind of like those colors. But you also might get a generation like this. Again, this is how you explore a prompt to its fullest. Not all 4 billion possibilities, but just a handful to really give you a taste. Tip number 9, this is an organization tip. You can use smart folders on the Midjourney website for a fast way of keeping track of your pictures. To access your gallery on the website, you can click on this little image icon on the left side. And then on the right, we're gonna wanna click on this folders tab, and we're going to want to create a folder. You can call it whatever you want. Why don't I try sunset? Now we want to make sure we click on smart folder. Here is where we can type in specific prompting terms. Midjourney is going to find all of the times we use those words in a prompt, and it's going to fill this folder with those pictures. Pretty crazy stuff. So I'm going to type sunset. As simple as that. You can obviously add as many words as you want to organize. And when I hit create folder, I can then click on the sunset folder, and it's going to have every image I've ever made with that word sunset. Look how cool this is. Tip number 10, this is a basic prompting tip. I want you to start small and then elaborate after. Like here, I started with the most simple idea, a duck. I just wanted to see what Midjourney would create. But what I really had in mind was a duck wearing a neon jacket. So again, I prompt for that and I see what Midjourney creates. When you see the result, your mind will start to fill in what else you were expecting to see. And then we're just gonna write those expectations into the prompt. A duck wearing a neon jacket, singing on stage at a music festival. This is really what I was going for the entire time. You could obviously start with prompts like this, but I think my advice is to start small and then continue to add what you want to see into the prompt. Tip number 11, use vary region to replace any character in any scene. Vary by region is also known as InPainting, so that's kind of what we're going to be doing. We're going to take our image and we're going to paint inside of it in order to replace what's already there. So why don't we take this duck and we're going to click on Vary by Region. Now you can either select with the rectangle tool, or you can get really specific with the lasso tool, and you could try to finesse it and select all around the duck. I don't know how necessary that is, so let's just make sure we have the duck covered, and then we're going to go down into our prompt box and we're going to replace the duck with a different character. Let's try Shrek and see what it comes up with. Oh yeah, take a look at these. I like number 1 a lot. Tip number 12. In my humble opinion, Memphis Pattern is the best prompt ever. All you need to do is add in some descriptive words to really nudge the direction of the generation, like a cool 1980s blue Memphis Pattern. And we get something like these. Look at number 4. That is so awesome. I don't know if you like these as much as I do, but those just speak to me. I love the vibe. Tip number 13. Don't forget about Niji Journey. N-I-J-I. Niji is a Midjourney model specifically trained on anime, and the results are all going to resemble animation. If I prompted for the portrait of the Queen of Atlantis in Midjourney, this is what we could expect to see. But if we add --Niji space 6 at the end of our prompt and hit enter, it's going to run that prompt through the Niji model, and these are the results we're going to get. You didn't have to say cartoon, anime, nothing like that in your prompt. You're simply going to get that in the results. Don't forget about Niji. Tip number 14. This is a very specific workflow, but it creates some of my favorite possible images from the bot. We're going to start by creating a photorealistic image inside of Midjourney. We'll start with something like a portrait of a steampunk queen style raw, a very realistic looking picture. We're then going to run the same or similar prompt in Niji, but we're going to include that original image as an image prompt. So we're going to click and then we're going to drag it down into the prompt box. Make sure there's a space between your link and the rest of your prompt. And then the results will be something like these. And this is honestly one of my favorite things to do. It's like the perfect blend of surreal reality and anime. Like, you can tell that these aren't real, but they're also not completely cartoon. I just love the look so much, and I highly recommend you try this as well. Like, look how cool that picture is. Where does the realism end and where does the cartoonification begin? Tip number 15. Use negative prompting to exclude common themes from your generation. What I mean by this is that eventually you'll start to learn what Midjourney likes to create. And when you start to come across those same things over and over again, you might get sick of seeing them. In order to combat that, you can negative prompt those common things out of the generation. And this works great with color. Take a look at this example. We have a bouquet of roses. Now there are a couple different colors here, but you'll see the red rose come through. Traditionally, roses equals red, and that's what Midjourney knows. The same thing goes for a Ferrari. If you prompt for that car, you'll probably see it come up as red. It's just a connection Midjourney has with certain words. So what we can do is exclude that color from our generation. We would type a bouquet of roses, then --no space red, or any other color you want to exclude. Keep in mind, you don't have to use this just for color. You can use it for anything that keeps appearing in your Midjourney images without you asking for it. And look at these results. A bouquet of roses, no red, not a single shade of red in sight. Okay, maybe you could argue that right there is slightly reddish, but I think you get what I mean. Tip number 16. The remix feature can be used to create amazing consistent style across your generations. I used this example in the last video, but I want to show you again because of how well it worked. The prompt here isn't that important, it's quite long. Batman in the style of retro-futuristic cyberpunk comic book art, geometric patterns, splashes of color, 80s aesthetic vintage retro style poster. You get the point. What you want to do is go into your /settings and make sure remix mode is turned on. Now for this tip especially, we want to make sure we're using very strong, not subtle, very strong. When we click on it, a prompt box will appear and we'll have the chance to change our prompt. This is where we're going to want to change our subject, like Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, anything you want to see. And when we hit enter, Midjourney is going to remix this image with our new subject. And we'll get results like these. Look how gorgeous those are. Look how the style maintains itself. This is so much fun. And then even the Spider-Man, all 4 of them are amazing. I can't get enough of this. Even Gundam Mecha turned out pretty great. Tip number 17. Use the phrase street photography in a setting for a cool and varied grid. You could try Gotham City, Look what it does for Westeros. I didn't ask for these specific characters, but it brought them into the generation. I thought Atlantis turned out really well. Like, variety, black and white, underwater, and then this cool vintage postery look. It's a lot of fun. Hogwarts, maybe this had a little less variety, but I still love where this could go, especially if you wanted to add some chaos into that prompt. Tip number 18, another prompting tip, use the word candid for a more laid back look in your generations. What I mean by that is your grid can have its own level of variety just using the word candid. We have a dolphin just hanging out, a dolphin splashing. Honestly, seeing 4 different images like this is rather interesting considering we did not use a chaos value. Maybe you like this idea, candid photo of a dog walker. And it looks more like a photo in passing. Same thing here with a candid photo of a 1940s newspaper boy. Candid is really synonymous with natural, free-flowing, spur of the moment, if you will. Tip number 19, use textures as a character reference. I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about using color as a character reference, but please don't forget about textures. It works surprisingly well. Like here, a knight in granite armor, and I had previously just generated a texture of granite to use as the link. I like this one a lot. Or even something like this, a mossy wood texture used as a character reference. This was surprisingly hard to create without the reference, and I think this did a pretty good job with it. And I'll show you how to do this on the Midjourney website. Up here at the top, you're gonna write your prompt. Let's just try something like an arcade cabinet. We're gonna hit this little plus button to see all of the image prompts we've ever used. Let's go with the granite. We're gonna click on it, and it will pop up in the prompt box, but it will appear as an image prompt, and that's not what we want. We also don't want it as a style reference. We want to hover over the granite picture and make sure we click on character reference. I'm gonna make sure this is done in a portrait-sized aspect ratio, and then I'm gonna hit enter. And look how cool these are. A granite arcade cabinet without using granite in the prompt, just using the picture of granite as a character reference. Have fun with this. Tip number 20, make sure you set a suffix to save yourself time. On Discord, you can type in /prefer suffix to set a certain phrase or value to appear at the end of all your prompts. Make sure you click on new value, and then anything you type in new value will appear at the end of all of your prompts automatically. I use this for the aspect ratio 16:9 so that I don't have to type that out every time. All of my prompts will be generated in a wide aspect ratio. In /settings, you can see what you have set as your current suffix. You could also use this for different versions of Midjourney or maybe different stylized values. Anything that you don't want to have to write out every single time. Tip number 21, use Twyla Tharp in your prompt for really amazing movement. Twyla Tharp is actually a choreographer, and Midjourney recognizes this name and includes that type of movement in your generation. Like, look at Batman here, it's pretty wild. Now, I'm not saying it will always work perfectly, but rather than a static pose that you get most of the time, Twyla Tharp will bring in some sort of action flowy movement that can spice up your generations quite a bit. Like, look how cool this is. You don't have to specify anything else other than the name. And it's spelt a little interestingly, Twyla Tharp, Twyla Tharp. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And as a side note, you might want to specify a male subject, or there is a good chance it gets generated as a female. That's just what I've noticed from my experimentation. It even works decently with a subject like a husky. Tip number 22, I call this the triple, and this is easiest to do on the Midjourney website, so I'm going to show you how to do it there first. Basically, what we're going to do is choose 3 images, and we're going to use each one as an image prompt, a style reference, and a character reference. Here on the Midjourney Explore page, we're just going to choose 3 random images. Let's go with this bird. We're going to drag it up into the prompt box. Why don't we try Crash Bandicoot here? We'll drag that up. And then let's try this bleeding lip. I think that's a pretty cool picture. Now that the 3 pictures are up here, when you hover over them, you'll see the 3 options you have. If you were to click on style reference rather than image prompt, the image prompt would be deselected, but that's not what we want. So we're going to hold Shift on our keyboard, and we're going to select each of the options, and that will select all of them for us. We're going to do the same thing for the Crash Bandicoot, and we're going to do the same thing for the bird. Now, we can't hit enter just yet. We actually have to include some words in our prompt. but I recommend using something super simple like the word yes. That's all you need to include. It doesn't have to take over the generation in any way. You can use a single letter, anything that's just very short and simple. And we get something like these. They're a little scary, but I think this can be a lot of fun. Now let me show you quickly how to do this on Discord. We're going to upload our 3 images, again by clicking this little plus button and going to upload file. Once the 3 images appear here, you're going to hit enter. It's going to send those 3 images into the chat. Now we're going to type our short word like yes, and then we're going to begin to drag our links into the prompt box. Make sure you hit space so that the next link is not touching the first one. Now those 3 are set up as image prompts, but we also have to do this for character reference and style reference. Here's how we do that. We're going to type --SREF into the prompt box, leave a space, and then you could click and drag each image back into the prompt box. But I'm actually just going to go and copy each of the 3 links, and then I'm going to paste them after SREF. Then I'm going to hit space and type --CREF for character reference, hit space, and now I'm going to paste those links again. That is the triple, using 3 pictures, each as an image prompt, a style reference, and a character reference. This is just a fun way to create some very unique images. Like, oh, these are sick. I love number 1 and number 4. That's unreal. Tip number 23, generate in thin aspect ratios for perfect bookmarks. I guess this is sort of a print on demand tip, but you could also use this for your own arts and crafts. You're going to generate in a thin aspect ratio like 3:1 or 1:3. Both of them will work. It'll just change the orientation of the picture. Like here's what a 3:1 might look like, and all I'm typing in is Christmas theme scene. That's all you need to do. Obviously, you can get a lot more elaborate with your prompt. I'm just trying to show you the most simple version that will actually work for you. Halloween theme scene, AR 3:1. Outer space looks pretty cool. And then here's a Caribbean nautical theme. But that same idea in an inverted ratio like 1:3 will generate in a vertical look. Tip number 24. Your aspect ratio actually makes a huge difference. Feel free to experiment for each of your prompts. Like if you're trying to create a logo, you might want to try a square ratio. A futuristic logo for a recycling company, AR 1:1. If this was a thinner ratio, our logo itself would be squished. And if it was a wide ratio, the logo would stretch to fill out the canvas. That's probably not what you want. A square ratio is going to provide the most traditional return for your imagination. Like these ice cream company logos. So cool. Number 3 is unreal. I like number 2 a lot as well. Tip number 25, staying on ratios for a second. Character concepts benefit from something like a poster ratio. Anything vertical, 2:3 or even 4:5. Like a character concept art for an alien anthropomorphic dog. If this was a square ratio, our character would be squished a little. If this was a wide ratio, we might just have the top of our character in view. Changing it to a poster-sized vertical ratio will allow our entire character to be shown in the generation. You'll see that this doesn't always work, like maybe number 1 isn't what we wanted, but number 3 did a pretty good job. Same idea here for a broccoli cowboy. I love number 2, we get to see from head to toe perfectly, and number 4 is pretty cool as well. A robot monk, same idea, or even a zebra dressed like a librarian in 4:5. Anything that is taller than it is wide, anything where the second number is larger than the first will work for this idea. I actually really like this concept for a 1400 Spider-Man. I thought number 1 was cool. Or an ancient Greece Spider-Man. Number 4 is nice, but I'm a fan of all of them. Tip number 26. This is how to solve the problem of messed up hands. You might run into this a lot with Midjourney. Maybe not as often as other generators, but Midjourney still has its problems. And there are actually 2 ways to solve this specific issue. Take a look at this picture, look at this guy's hands. These are not looking very well. He needs help. The first thing I think you should try is very subtle. Not very strong, we just want a subtle tweak on this image. When you do this, Midjourney has a chance to course correct itself and fix whatever problems show up in the original. Like take a look at these. All I clicked on was very subtle. And look at number 2 here, like that's perfect. That solved the problem. But it also changed the rest of the generation a little bit, subtly. If you don't want that, there is another option for you. Going back to your original and clicking on Vary Region, you can simply select the area around the hands and hit enter. Again, this will tell Midjourney what you want fixed and it will correct itself most of the time. Like these. Granted, they're not all good. Number 1 is decent. 2 and 3, not the greatest, but number 4 worked out pretty well. And that was done through Vary by Region, or InPainting as it's also known as. Tip number 27, use image weights to blend your images together more precisely. Now normally when you're image prompting, you need to include words in your prompt or Midjourney will not run. That's why we might use the word yes or describe Kylo Ren holding a lightsaber. Alternatively, if we wanted to blend images using the / blend feature, we didn't have the opportunity to include any words. It just didn't work. So if we want the best of both worlds, we can use this next trick. Let's take these two pictures here, this black and white Alice in Wonderland inspired photo and this Star Wars inspired photo. Imagine, like, look how cool this picture looks. Doesn't that just expand your horizons? So if we were to blend these two images together, these are the results. Pretty cool. Each image is worth 50% of the total prompt. But what if we want one of the images to have a little more weight? We can add a : then a value after one of the links. In this case, we bumped the weight of the black and white photo to 2. So now that black and white photo is worth twice as much as the Star Wars photo. And these are the results. You can see Alice starting to take over the generation while just the lightsaber sneaks through from the Star Wars photo. But we can flip that here when we add : 2 after the Star Wars photo. We still have a little bit of black and white, but Star Wars has taken over. Keep in mind though, if we're going to do this, we need to add the : after the black and white photo. You need to separate your image links. You don't have to add a weight to it, but they need to be separated. I hope that makes sense. Tip number 28, create a larger seamless pattern using InPainting. This can be a lot of fun. It's a little advanced, but you might find it useful. So we're gonna take this picture here, an isometric illustration of Where's Waldo amusement park scene, -- tile. That's important, okay? What that means is that this picture is a seamless pattern. Let me show you. Here's that picture in a seamless pattern checker. If we surrounded that picture with itself and we zoomed out, you would start to see a seamless pattern. Where does one picture start and the rest begin? Pretty cool. This is how you would create wallpaper or wrapping paper. But there is a way to create a larger seamless pattern than just one image. So what we're gonna do is go into Vary by Region, and we're going to select everything except the outside edges. When we hit enter, we're going to see this as the result. Did you notice what happened? It's a little hard to see, but there are actually 4 individual images here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's right, this is a grid. But thanks to that trick, it's one giant seamless pattern. Now, when we take this into the checker, look what happens. There's a lot more going on. Isn't that cool? It's a lot of fun to use. It's a little specific, it's a little advanced, but I bet you'll find a great way to use this. Tip number 29, use GPT to help you write prompts. But let me tell you what I mean. First, I want you to give it a framework. Tell it that you're using an AI art generator and that you need help with the prompt. Ask the AI to divide the prompt into 3 different sections. Tell it to pick a random subject, we're talking animals, people, places, then tell it to place that subject in a random setting. But we're not done. You're then going to ask it to describe 2 small details in the scene. And then you're going to ask it to choose an art style for the picture to be generated in. These are pretty cool. I like number 4 a lot. Tip number 30, the most unique images you can make will come from the chaos parameter. Like here, we have a vibrant retro pop art picture of a rock and roll penguin, chaos 30. This is definitely what I asked for, but this specific unique picture is coming from that chaos value. 30 might be a little high, just letting you know. You can find something like this, or even this, but lowering the value to chaos 12, that is fine by me. That honestly might be what I suggest you do. Like, look how gorgeous this is. That comes from the chaos parameter. Oh, even chaos 20. I love this one. That's pretty cool too. Tip number 31. The most realistic images you can make in Midjourney will come from the style raw parameter mixed with a low stylized value. Like a photo of a panther in the Sahara, -- style raw, but also -- S0. Style and stylize are a little different. Style signifies a specific Midjourney model, in this case style raw, While stylized dictates the beauty and strictness that Midjourney follows your prompt, the default is 100 and we actually want to lower it for more realistic images. Like here, stylized 0 being the lowest you can go. A photo of a squirrel in winter, style raw, S20. Look how beautiful this looks. Beautiful in the sense that it looks so real. I like this one a lot too. That's at stylized 0. Same here. Look at this. Isn't that photorealistic? I think it's amazing. Or even something like this. Again, it's the panther in the desert, but it's such a unique angle and composition without having to specify that in the prompt. All I needed was style raw, S20. Oh, and this one, like, that's intense. That looks extremely real. And I like this little guy. Back to the squirrel. Tip number 32. The most beautiful images you can make in Midjourney will come from a high stylized value. The default stylized value is 100, and that's what happens when you don't specify it in your prompt. You can lower it for more realistic images, and we want to raise it for more beautiful images. The range is from 0 to 1000. Here it is at S500. A pretty gorgeous picture of a swan and a kitty being best friends. But then look what happens when we double the stylized value to 1000. Look at this gorgeous rendition. It's a little dreamlike, and that's what's going to happen when you raise the stylized value. But this is how you're going to find the most beautiful pictures possible. Like, look how awesome that image is. Midjourney is so much fun. Tip number 33. The most fun images you can make will come from a combination of the stylized, chaos, and weird parameters. A super simple prompt, we have the Easter Bunny, but this time I included stylized 600, weird 200, and chaos 5. Look how interesting the result is. I love this picture. I think it's so unique, and I think it's a lot of fun. It's probably the best way to describe it. Same idea here. We want to use a lower weird value. The weird parameter is a range between 0 and 3000, with 0 being the default. We bumped it up here to 200. Chaos goes from 0 to 100, with 0 also being the default. Here we raised it just slightly to 5. Here's Superman, but this time weird is all the way up at 2400 and chaos got bumped to 14. I think this is pretty unique. I'd like to call it fun, but this sort of combination is going to get you definitely the most interesting type of pictures. Tip number 34. When Midjourney is not listening to you and you're having trouble with your prompt, use style raw. Like in this example, disco ball in the style of pop art. I didn't think this did a very good job at representing pop art. You can sort of see the inspiration, but it wasn't what I was looking for. However, when I added style raw at the end of the prompt, this is what I was presented with, and that is exactly what I was looking for. Use style raw when Midjourney isn't listening to you. This might happen with art styles or even artists. Honestly, any detail that isn't showing up in the default Midjourney, make sure you also try it in style raw. Tip number 35. Is Midjourney still not listening to you? This is when you should be using multi-prompting. Just add a little bit of spice to the creation. And one of the examples you might want to use this for is when you're trying for a specific art style, like an artist. Here we have Harry Potter, art by Don Mites. I love Don Mites, but I don't think this really captured his essence. So what we want to do is take our prompt and add 2 colons at the end of it. That is going to split it up and turn it into a multi-prompt. Now we can add the part of our prompt that wasn't coming through in the generation. In this case, art by Don Mites. We're going to add 2 more colons and then a small weight, just a little bit of spice. In this case, 0.7, to just re-emphasize what we were looking for. These are the results, and Don Mites' art style comes through the generation so much more clearly. Use multi-prompting to remind Midjourney what you were looking for. Tip number 36. Don't forget to try style raw when you're using style reference. We're going to take this picture here and we're going to use --SREF at the end of our prompt and then attach this image. And this is something we can expect to see when we also include style raw in that prompt. It's not going to change the generation completely, but style raw can really add something to style reference. I love this one. I think that's so cool. Like, look at that Batman. That's amazing. Same with this. I think that's pretty evocative. Even this one, that's got a lot of life to it. I like Spidey. Do you see how much fun this can be? Like, look at that. Tip number 37. Speaking of style reference, you should be trying a high chaos value with that parameter. We're going to be using that same style reference photo, and normally I would say avoid high chaos values. Don't go any higher than like 6. But when it comes to style reference, high chaos values work really, really well. Batman, style reference, that image with chaos 50. Look what we're getting. That's awesome. Maybe something like this Spider-Man or that Spider-Man. And then look at that Wonder Woman photo. Like, that's insane. I like that one a lot as well. The glowing eyes, that sword, just incredible. Tip number 38, use Vary Region to inpaint the entire picture. You might like the results. I have this image here of a Polaroid portrait of a nautical alien pirate, unsplash, stylized 300 Chaos 9. Cool picture, right? We're gonna go into Vary Region and we're just gonna select the entire picture. We're gonna repaint the whole thing. I don't know for sure, but previously this had used a different algorithm to do the inpainting, and that's why the results might be a little different. And we could end up with these. I'm not saying this technique is totally practical or applicable in every situation, but you can try it out and maybe you'll like what you find. I like all of these actually. Tip number 39, lock in a seed number to test changes of individual words. This is a pretty big tip, but I'll try to keep it simple. Like here, we're gonna use the prompt, an orange neon infused baseball hat. Rather than let Midjourney choose a random seed number, we're going to specify it ourselves. We're gonna write -- seed space, and then honestly, any number between 0 and 4 billion. Here I went with 85292. Completely random. But when we keep that seed number the same and tweak some words in our prompt, we can really see what those changes do to the generation. Like here, this is what a pink neon infused baseball hat would look like on that specific seed number. Here's what the word aurora would do to it, and here's what the word blue would do to it. Now that's just a very basic example with colors, but when you're trying to test words and you're not sure what they actually do in your prompt, like the difference between happy and ecstatic, lock in a seed number and test those changes. You'll see exactly what those individual words bring to the picture. Tip number 40, create a rough sketch of your image and then image prompt that into Midjourney. You could use Photoshop or something like Canva. Canva is really easy to use. It has a bunch of assets for you to try. So I put together this crudely created photo. Just some pictures of some dolphins, some flowers in the sky, and maybe some mountains. Maybe those are waves. I'm not really sure. But when I take that picture and use it as an image prompt, along with the description, something like flowers floating in the night sky as stars, dolphins swimming underneath, we can get something like these. Now, I think that's pretty cool, and it would have been a little more difficult to get this exact look had I not provided the rough copy. While you're doing this, you might want to try lowering the image weight. We're going to put --IW, and then we don't want it at 1. We definitely don't want it at 3. I would lower it to something like 0.5. That will make sure your rough copy just has a little bit of influence. And tip number 41, use /info on a public Midjourney channel. Why would you want to do this? Well, you might have access to some super secret rooms. Just kidding, they're not that secret. They're available to you if you've made a certain amount of Midjourney images. So you would go to the Midjourney server and maybe you could pick a newcomer room. This is newbies 174. In the prompt box, all I'm going to do is hit /info. This will bring up your information, but this will also sync your information with the Midjourney bot. Then you would see over here on the left, if you've made over a certain amount of images, these new clubs will open up. Here is the 10,000 club and the 25,000 club. But I think there's also 1,000, 2,500, 5,000. It's just a place to talk with like-minded people. Here's all the people who have made over 25,000 images, and this is their chat room. If you clicked on this video, you're probably looking to learn something about Midjourney that you didn't know before. Like, did you know that you can click up on the keyboard to fill in your last prompt? This is perfect for when you want to test different parameters after trying the simple foundational prompt. This works even better on the website where you can go up and down through all of your prompts. And if this isn't working for you on Discord, because sometimes the chat times out, you can use Control-Z or Command-Z, the undo button, and backtrack through your prompts that way. And look how cool these are. I like number 2 here. Ooh, I like number 4. You know what? I like the color in number 3 here. Tip number 2. If you're trying to make a panorama image, focus on the aspect ratio and remember, the wider the better. You could try --AR 3x1 for this panorama of a mini golf course, or maybe you want to try 4x1 for this panorama of a packed soccer stadium. Or, in my opinion, you might want to try 5x1 for this panorama photo shoot of a discotheque nightclub. Midjourney is capable of a lot. Panoramas are definitely possible. Just remember, the wider the better. Speaking of aspect ratios, you can save any image you've ever made by using custom zoom and adjusting the ratio there. What I'm saying is that if you weren't happy with the aspect ratio you chose, you can always click on custom zoom underneath an upscale to change the aspect ratio there. There is one key thing you need to remember though. You need to change the zoom from 2 to 1. Let's take this image of our squirrel having a picnic. Because we don't want to zoom the frame out, we need to make sure that zoom changes from a 2 to a 1, so that the focus of the image can stay on our squirrel even if we change the shape of the frame. And we can end up with something like this. Our squirrel and the picnic stay the focus of the composition, but we're adjusting the frame and letting Midjourney fill in the blank space. Here's what you can do if you're having trouble generating a full body shot. If your images are always getting cut off and you cannot see the full body, try mentioning something at the top of their head, their hair, maybe the color, maybe a hat, and something at the bottom, like their shoes. Here we have the prompt, a full body shot of Optimus Prime at the beach, and as you can see, it did not work out. We don't see the full body of Optimus. However, we could try something like this. Full body shot of Optimus Prime at the beach. Optimus Prime is wearing green sandals. That's all we had to do in order to see the full body of our robot overlord. And the same idea right here for this prompt. A full body wide angle shot of a minimalist steampunk pirate. The pirate is wearing a golden hat and golden boots. Mention something at the top and mention something at the bottom. That's how you get a full body shot. This is extremely fun to do and it will create the most unique images possible. It involves using Midjourney's newest feature, Style Random, and the custom zoom option. First of all, I like to start with a more realistic look, like a realistic portrait of a robotic android femme fatale. Again, I like to start with realistic, but you could go in the complete opposite direction, maybe something cartoony, anime, surrealist, or abstract. But what we are going to do is click on custom zoom underneath an upscale. And now there are two things we have to do. The first is triggering Midjourney's newest feature, --SREF random. That stands for style reference random. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a completely random art style for our new generation. But we're not done there. I think you should lower the zoom value. I like to change it to something like 1.4. I don't want to zoom out 2x because I think that's a little too much. With 1.4, we have a chance to zoom out more often without completely reducing our original subject. And when we hit submit, we are going to see something like these. That sort of green painterly look which Midjourney added around our frame. And you can see at the top, it was that SREF random number. When you use SREF random, Midjourney is going to roll a random number for you. Honestly, you could type in a random number yourself, but there are over 4 billion options, so I like to let Midjourney choose for me. And then what you're going to do is pick one that you like. I went with number 1, and we're going to do the same process over again. This time we're going to delete the number and include the word random instead. I'm going to change the zoom again from 2 to 1.4, but you could choose any number in between. It really is just a personal preference thing. We're going to hit submit. And now we're going to end up with these, this sort of pink colored shiny look. There is no rhyme or reason to what art style you're going to see. I think you should just pick one you like and we're going to go through this process again. I thought this looked pretty cool. We'll hit custom zoom, delete the number, put random, change the zoom from 2 to 1.4. We'll hit submit, and then we'll end up with something like these, and I'm not sure what you would call that. Maybe a rough sketch, intricate floral design? Something like that. I'll go through this process one more time. I chose number 1, custom zoom, change the number to random, and then change the zoom from 2 to 1.4. And then we get something like these, which is, I don't know, maybe Asian inspired on the outside. I think this process is a lot of fun and it really can create the most unique images possible. You'll never get anything like this just through prompting. I think you should consider generating in older algorithms and then remixing it into the latest. First, let me show you this prompt in version 6. It's a Stardust Champion of the Infinite Degrees. Pretty cool prompt, but maybe the results are, I don't know, not that exciting. But let me show you what this looks like in version 3. We get a much more painterly abstract vibe. I personally love version 3 and I think this is a great starting point. We're going to choose one we like and upscale it. I went with number 2 here. And then one key thing we need to do is go into our settings and make sure remix mode is turned on. We want this button to be green right here. Now back at our version 3 upscale, if we hit make variations, we can simply change the version 3 to a version 6, the newest algorithm. And when we hit submit, we could end up with something like these. Now look how cool those are. A sort of anthropomorphic being is coming through the generation. I'm a really big fan of these, and as you saw from the original version 6, there is really no way to get this look just by prompting alone. You sort of have to go through this time machine workflow. I just wanted to let you know that this kind of thing is possible, and maybe you'll find the perfect scenario to use it. Don't forget about Niji Journey. In fact, Niji 5 Style Cute is still one of the best things that you can do in Midjourney. You could take this prompt here, crocodile sticker art, and all you need to do is include --Niji space 5, then --style space cute at the end of your prompt. We are triggering the Niji bot, the anime style algorithm, and then we are asking specifically for the cute style of that bot. I hope that makes sense. Maybe you want to see the Joker, and I love all of these actually. I think those are so cool. Here's what Spider-Man might look like. There's the Hulk. I think Wonder Woman looks awesome. And then here's Harley Quinn. What do you think? Or even look at this. This is sort of an old school way of getting consistent characters. Do you see how Niji Style Cute can create like the perfect character sheet? This could be a lot of fun. Check out this cool prompt. You can use WF 2009 in your prompt to create a very intricate small figurine look. And a special thanks to Circuit Naismith over on Discord. They're the ones who shared this prompt with me. And look how simple it can be. All you need to do is include WF 2009, say at the beginning of your prompt, and then any subject you want. Here we have Batman versus the Joker. And do you see how it has that really mechanical toy figurine look? Extremely high detailed, extremely fun to use. Maybe you want to see an android giraffe toy? You can't go wrong with this. And then here, I tried to create a pink and black Gundam mecha, but I spelt it wrong, so here's a punk and black Gundam mecha, and I love those results. That turned out to be one of my favorite spelling mistakes ever. Number 1 is so cool. I highly recommend trying punk and black in your prompt. And then for the record, here's what pink and black might look like. That's what I was going for originally. I know the inability to zoom in on a Midjourney picture can be frustrating, but we can kind of fake that effect. What I want you to do is start with an extremely zoomed in picture, then zoom out, and all we're going to do is reverse the images, and that will make it look like we're zooming in. Let me show you how it works. We're gonna start with a prompt like this, a macro shot of a sparkling diamond on top of a pile of jewels and treasure. Macro shot, portrait, extreme close-up, anything along those lines. We want our first generation to be really zoomed in on a particular subject. Then all we're going to do is click zoom out underneath an upscale. I recommend zooming out by 2x, but you could use 1.5 or custom zoom. Honestly, it's up to you. When we zoom out, it could look something like these, and all we're going to do is choose an upscale and run that process again. Here's what we have. We're gonna hit zoom out 2x underneath the upscale, and that will bring us to an image that looks like this, and we'll just do that process again. You can do this as many times as you like. We'll do it one more time, and then we have something like this. Now, if you were to zoom in on this picture, I think most people would think that we'd be aiming for that larger diamond in the top right. But that's not where we're going. The trick is literally just to reverse the set of images so it looks like we're zooming in on this pile of treasure. So we'll go from this to this, into this, getting a little closer now, and there we are, we just zoomed in on our treasure. Now, I understand if you're not happy with that technique, but that is one way to create the effect of zooming in. Maybe you'll find the perfect way of harnessing this illusion. I have to show you this prompt. It is absolutely amazing and I can't get enough of it. Check out Archogram. Maybe it's Archogram. I really don't know how to pronounce it correctly. If you do, let me know in the comments below. And I want to give a special thanks to Paul Lanou. They're the ones who showed me this art style. Look how cool these pictures are. Archogram of Kate Upton. These grids were absolutely blowing my mind. One word can create so many different types of looks. It blows my mind how cool this is. Again, like, the fact that one word can mean so many different things, like, look how cool this is, Archogram portrait. Again, maybe it's Archogram, I don't really know. Like, look at that. Oh my god, that is so beautiful, and it is the most simple prompt ever. The exact same prompt, the exact same grid could hold this picture and that picture and that picture. Like, oh my god, the most goosebumps ever. Archogram, my favorite prompt. You gotta try this one. It's absolutely a GOAT. It's in the Hall of Fame. No questions asked. First ballot Hall of Famer. I've mentioned style reference a lot, and I don't want to overwhelm you, but it actually has 4 different versions. At the end of your prompt, you can include --SV style version, and then a number between 1 and 4. I'll go through examples of each one, and then we'll talk about what you can expect from the differences. Style reference lets you point to a particular picture so that the next generation will follow the same style. Let's take this car as an example. I think this is a vintage illustration, something like that. And here we have a simple prompt, a simple subject. That's what I'm recommending. Alice in Wonderland. We're going to include --SREF, style reference, and then a link to the picture we want to emulate. In this case, it is that vintage illustration. But then here, I'm pointing out that this is style version number 1, and these are the results. What do you think? Let me show you what style version 2 might look like. Pretty different results at first glance. Let's go to style version number 3. Okay, you might see a little bit of a pattern that this happens to look more like number 1. And let's check out style version 4. Again, you may start to notice a pattern. Style versions 1 and 3 are similar, while 2 and 4 are going to look similar. Now let me try to explain that using some more words. Style versions 1 and 3 might be more artistic, while 2 and 4 are more accurate to the original picture. In fact, 3 is a better version of 1, and 4 is a better version of 2. But honestly, your preferences are way more important. You can choose whichever one you like the most. I just wanted to let you know that there are 4 different options. Let me also point out that 1 and 3 might carry the original picture's colors into the new generation, while 2 and 4 try to focus just on the style. And I also need to let you know that style versions do not work with SREF random, but you can use random and then take the picture that is created and use that as a style reference. And then you'll have access to the different versions. Again, I'm sorry if that sounds a little confusing. I'm really not trying to overwhelm you. Just wanted to let you know that you have a lot of options at your disposal. This is a pretty specific prompting tip, but it might come in handy for you. When creating something like a t-shirt design, include --no mockup at the end of your prompt to make sure you only receive the design and not a picture of an actual t-shirt. This also might work when you're asking for a painting. Sometimes, at least in the past, Midjourney would create a literal painting for you and it would put it in a frame, but that's probably not what you want. You could include --no mockup in your prompt to make sure Midjourney just focuses on the actual picture. Now, I'm not saying this advice is completely necessary. Here's a minimal hippie t-shirt design. As you can see, no t-shirt was generated. That might not always be the case, but I am saying that you could use negative prompting --no and then words like mockup or shirt to keep Midjourney focused. And you can see from these generations that these are much more representative of something you would see on a t-shirt. I actually like number 1 a lot. I think that's so cool. And really, you should remember that negative prompting can help exclude anything that you do not want to see from your Midjourney generation. Prompting for a collage in Midjourney can be amazing, but I think that you should give the bot some guidance. What I mean is that you should tell the bot different aspects that you want to appear in the collage. This can be so much fun. Like here, I asked for a collage of a dog, a pineapple, a mysterious box, and the aurora borealis. Ask for a collage, the general art style, but then include some specifics that you'd like to see remixed in that collage. The possibilities are honestly endless, and I think you can have so much fun with this technique. Like, look how cool this picture is. I love that. Use the term HO scale in your prompt for a toy figurine look. And a special thanks to Paul Lanou for this suggestion. You can come up with a cool image like Batman on a surfboard, maybe even a setting like a baseball field, or some sort of high-tech sci-fi baseball field. I like this one a lot, a railroad on an alien planet, or maybe even a toy soldier battle in a bathroom. Tip number 2, Midjourney recently added the ability to combine style reference codes together, and you can even add weights. Let's take this style code for example. An octopus doctor, SREF 301349843. That looks cool, I like the black and white. But then let's also take this style code right here, a little more colorful. We can combine them together in a prompt and add different weights to each code. First, we can leave a space between both codes and each style will have equal importance. A little bit of the black and white and a little bit of the color. Or we can add 2 colons after one of the codes followed by a weight. In this case, we're saying the black and white code is worth twice as much as the color code. And these are the results. I think they're pretty cool. But we can also do the inverse. We can increase the weight of the other style. And we might end up with something like these. There are unlimited possibilities. With regards to your own personal style in Midjourney, you can do what's called a void prompt to see what your style actually looks like. You can start your void prompt with a symbol. In this case, some quotation marks will work just fine. Then we want to make sure we include --p and S1000 to make sure our style is as strong as possible. And we could end up with a grid like these. Look how cool this is. This is my personal style to the extreme. This is what Midjourney thinks I have a preference for. And I think it's pretty accurate. I like these a lot. This is basically removing any subject bias from the prompt. We're just using symbols. We don't know what Midjourney is going to create with it. This is to ensure our style becomes the most important part. Speaking of your personal style, I really think you should be trying Style Raw. The results might be more true to you. Here is that same void prompt with Style Raw, and I think the results are pretty different. Maybe it is just the luck of the draw, but I think Style Raw is a little more realistic, focuses on reality just a little bit more. And in my case, it has a slightly more faded look, a little more vintage, if you will. For just a quick comparison, here is another grid of my personal code without Style Raw. You can see it's slightly not as realistic. It's a little more painterly, even a little more colorful. Your style might change quite significantly between default and Style Raw. Make sure you try it out. Tip number 5, if you want to try somebody else's style, but you don't know their personal code, you can @ their name on Discord. If I were to go into a public creation room on Discord, I can type my prompt, use --p, and then @ a username to get their style code. Here I've chosen the greatest support manager in history, Ancient Chaos. I hope you don't mind me sharing your code here. And when you hit enter, the username you added will turn into their code. Maybe it's a little hard to see what his code did specifically, but this is the type of look his preference creates. For the simple prompt Neon Genesis Evangelion, here is what my personal style code creates. A little more faded, maybe slightly colorful, but still kind of disturbing. And here's what Ancient Chaos's code creates. A little darker, a little more rich in color. Tip number 7, let's stick with InPainting for a second. You can actually use style reference to swap different styles into your generation. Why don't we take this grid here? This was generated in my personal style at S1000. We can click on the picture so it expands, and then go down to copy image address. That's what we need. We need to be able to paste the link to this picture. Now let's go to the image of our man in a straw hat with the duck. If we go into vary by region, we can select the entire man. You don't have to make it too specific. I mean, you can if you wanted to. You could use the lasso tool and really get specific with the selection. But at the end of our prompt, we can type --SREF, and then you can use Control V or Command V to paste the link to our picture in the prompt. Don't worry if the link is long like this, it'll still work. But I also recommend you consider changing something in the prompt to specify what we're looking for now, which is a cartoon man. And we might end up with a grid like these. I happen to like number 2 a lot. I think it's really cool to see a cartoon subject mixed with reality. You could even select the duck instead and come up with a generation like these. Again, I like number 2. I think that looks pretty cool. And one last tip, you could remember the parameter for style weight. --SW and then a number between 0 and 1000. At 1000, we're telling Midjourney we want a very high strength for that style reference. And these are the results we might get. I'm a big fan of number 1. Tip number 8. This one is a little more philosophical. I want you to think of your generation as a first draft, and then use the variation buttons to explore more polished versions of the image you liked. I know it's hard to believe, but Midjourney can create even more amazing images based on the one you chose. Like here, we have a Polaroid of a woman at EDC. 4 pretty distinct options, but instead of just choosing one of these and moving on, I want you to think of it as a first draft and search through the variations. So let's explore number 3. We'll click on U3 to upscale it, and then from here, I think you should explore both very subtle and very strong. There will be very small differences, but something might catch your eye. But strong variations has a strong chance to show you something you weren't expecting. I am actually a big fan of number 3 right here. Remember, use your starting grid as a stepping stone and then explore through variations. Tip number 9, you can prompt for caricatures, and this works great when combined with character reference. You could try something simple like a caricature of a woman, CREF, and then a link to your character, and you might get some exaggerated features like here in number 1. You might want to try lowering the character weight to 0 --CW0, and you might also want to try lowering the stylized value to something around --S40. I think number 1 looks kind of cool, number 2 is not bad either, but I found that the best prompt for this is something like a hand-drawn black marker caricature of your character. You could try something like Chaos 5 for a little more variety, as well as the parameters of style raw, a low character weight of 0, and a low stylized value all the way down to 20. I think these look pretty awesome. Tip number 10, I have an upscale trick for you. You might know that version 6 only offers a subtle and a creative upscaler, but there used to be different options in previous versions, like a 2x and a 4x upscaler. Here is how you can access those in version 6. We are going to be using vary by region, aka InPainting, and the first part of the trick is to change the prompt so that it says --V 5.2. Then the second part is to select an area outside the image. We don't want to change the picture at all. Now it will create your same picture, but in the 5.2 algorithm, and you'll have access to the other upscalers. Check out the difference in file size. Here is the default of 2.2 megabytes. The subtle upscaler equals 7.5. The creative upscaler is 8.5 megabytes, but if we do that trick, the 2x is equal to 6.4, and the 4x is 28.1. Tip number 11, here's a little trick for the website. You can hover over the prompt of an upscale to see the grid it came from. I think there are probably a few things on the website that aren't exactly clear. So we have this upscale of our man with the duck, but how do we see the original grid it came from? Hover over the upscale, like I said, and now we have access to the other pictures in the original grid. Simple as that. Tip number 12, another hidden feature on the website, you can use the little search button to find more pictures similar to the one you're looking at. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, we have our man with the duck, that's fine. In our options above, between saving and liking the image, we have this search button right here. When we click on that, we are now presented with every other Midjourney images that match a similar style. So we're gonna get pictures of a lake, an old man, a hand reaching out, and of course, ducks. Even straw hats. Do you see how cool this is and how powerful that can be? And how easy it is to explore all the different aesthetics Midjourney has to offer? I think that tip is really powerful. Oh, this poor guy just wants a job. Tip number 13, why don't I go over my personal workflow for the office hour recaps? First, I'll go through the explore page and just look for images that I like. Let's take this one for example. This is from Marat646, and what I will do is use the prompt. I'll copy and paste it into Discord because I like using Discord more, but that's just a personal preference. The first thing I'm going to do is change the subject, and I'm going to enter a few new subjects using permutations. I'll start with something like a character, probably Batman, something like an object, maybe a sports car, and then more of a theme in general, like Star Wars. I'll search through the prompt for any other words I need to exclude, like the mention of an outline on the king's head. I'm then going to try this prompt in a few different stylized values. Definitely the default, but one stylized value lower, and one higher. Something like 50, 100, and 250. I also usually add in a little bit of chaos for more variety. That'll run 9 prompts, and I'll try to pick out the images I think are worth sharing. Oh, some of these are cool for sure. Tip number 14. This is something that's important to remember. You can adjust the strength of both style reference and character reference. When it comes to style reference, we can use --SW and then a number between 0 and 1000. Here's a generation of Batman using the highest strength of 1000. The style weight might not make the biggest difference, but check out what you can do with character reference. The character weight is a parameter --CW and then a value between 0 and 100. Here we have the prompt Eliza dressed as Batman with a character weight of 100, and as you can see, it's just Eliza, no Batman to be found. At a character weight of 100, it's going to try to include everything it knows about Eliza, including her hair, accessories, and outfit. We can start lowering the character weight down to 50, and we get a little bit more moody pictures, still not quite Batman, but I think we're on the way there. Because look what happens at a character weight of 0. We're actually getting our character dressed as Batman. The prompt is much more important, and that's why you should consider lowering the character weight in your prompts. Tip number 15. This is an amazing color trick. Use the word ombre in your prompt. If we prompted for a bird with blue and gold covered wings, we might get something like this, where both blue and gold are present, but they're sort of layered, intertwined with each other. The overall design of the bird mixes the gold and blue. But check out what happens when we change the prompt to include the word ombre, a bird with ombre colored wings, blue and gold. Ombre is the idea of two colors blending into one another, and that's what we get here. We can see the blue at the top fading into the gold at the bottom. Ombre is absolutely amazing. This is one of my favorite tricks to use. Like here we have an ombre colored robot, green, orange, and purple. You can name multiple colors, and all of the colors will start blending into one another. Just beautiful results. Like look at this blue and gold prom dress. Very stylish, but very on the nose, blue mixed with gold in different areas. Whereas an ombre colored blue and gold dress, we have the blue and gold fading in and out of one another. If you didn't know how to ask for this specific look, now you do. Use the word ombre. Tip number 16, you can actually pull off a mini photo shoot using subtle variations. Take a look at this prompt, a Polaroid of an Instagram model, adventure core, chaos 9, stylized 0. Not a bad picture, it's kind of cool, whatever. We're going to hit very subtle and then check out what we get. A grid that looks like this. You'll get more Polaroids of the same basic person in slightly different poses, and it looks a little bit like a mini photo shoot. You can even hit reroll for another set of pictures. Tip number 17, this is another photo shoot trick, and it comes from combining style reference random along with character reference. We could start our prompt with something like a portrait of, then we want to put the character reference parameter --CREF followed by a link to our character. In this case, I have Eliza saved as a shortcut. Then we want to make sure our character weight is set to 0, followed by --SREF and then the word random. This is going to generate a random style for us. But we're not done. I think you should use the repeat parameter --repeat and then a small number, maybe something like 4 or 5. And then we'll get to see a photo shoot of our character across a bunch of different looks. Special thanks to Samantha Brock for pointing this out. You can negative prompt symmetry for more interesting compositions. All you need to do is use --no followed by the word symmetry for something like this. Isn't that beautiful? Same idea here. Our character is going to be a little off of center. Okay, this one is pretty intense, but stick with me here. Remix is very different than the standard variation, and this is easiest to see with style reference. Let's take this example, a portrait of a woman on this style reference code. If we were to hit very subtle and very strong, we might end up with something like these. Here is the subtle variation and the strong. Pretty much what you'd expect, right? Basically the same picture, just slightly different. A variation, if you will. But if we were to go into our settings using /settings, and make sure remix mode is turned on, we can go back and click on variations, but this time a prompt box will appear. If you don't make any changes, it will run it as if it was a standard variation. Okay, that's fine. But if we were to delete something from the prompt, like the style reference code, the results are going to be quite different. Here is the subtle remix, and here is the strong remix. But let me show you the same idea again with another example. I want you to take a look at this void prompt right here from my personal style code. The key part is that it has a chaos 40 in the prompt. If we were to take that image and run strong variations, we would get something like this. Very, very similar looking pictures. But if we were to go into very strong and simply delete the chaos value, take a look at what we get. Isn't that mind-blowing? Oh, I'm getting goosebumps just looking at it right now. 4 more images, very different than the last, but all in the same sort of style. Now, I don't know if that's what you were expecting, but this is my new favorite thing to do. It is a way to get a consistent style across a grid of images. And all you had to do was delete something small from the prompt, like a chaos value. If you were to re-roll this entire grid, you'll get more of the same. Look at this grid, look how beautiful they are. Another 4 images all in that same general direction. You could have a lot of fun with this technique. Tip number 20, I think you could try prompting for double exposure, but also mentioning what you want to see inside of the image. Like this prompt, double exposure where one layer is a photograph of a sports car and the second layer is a clock. You can choose any subjects or settings that you want. Maybe a painting mixing a tidal wave with a godlike being. Or a tidal wave in a sports car style raw. Look how cool that picture is. Maybe you want to switch up the order and say the first layer is a sports car and the second layer is the tidal wave. Look how gorgeous that is. Oh, okay, I like that one a lot. This one is pretty specific, but it might help you out in certain situations. If you're having problems generating a look, I want you to try prompting in a low stylized value and then using the remix feature to raise it. Like I was having trouble generating Thanos as a pinup model. Maybe my prompt wasn't very good, but it took going down to stylize 40 to get a look I wanted, like here in number 2. So I upscaled it, and then the trick and my suggestion is to use remix on very subtle. And then this is where we can raise that stylized value back to something more beautiful. Maybe 500, maybe even 1000. So here's our original image, and when we remix it with a higher stylized value, we could end up with something like these. And comparing it to the original, I think I like these remixes a lot better. Some of these don't always work, but I guess that's just part of the Midjourney slot machine experience. Right-clicking on the Midjourney website. Here's a fun one to start, and I discovered this way too late. When you're creating images on the Midjourney website, instead of clicking on an image to expand it and then choosing another feature like remix or upscale, you can right-click on the thumbnail and access these features from there. But you'll notice on mine, only variation and remix appear. You might see different options. You can think of these as quick options, and if you want the rest of the features to show up here, you need to activate them under Creation Actions. A photo booth prompt. I've got a cool prompt for you to try, and special thanks to Metropa, I found this while exploring the Midjourney website. The basic gist of the prompt is a black and white photo booth film strip. Then you can choose a subject, maybe a character or an animal, and describe how they look succinctly. Maybe just say they're dressed like a gentleman. And after your description, you should mention that the subject will have different expressions in each photo. That's it for the words in your prompt, but there are 4 important parameters that you should try. First, maybe make sure that you're in some sort of vertical aspect ratio. I like 5:7 for these images. Second, I think you should try Style Raw. Third, make sure you add a little chaos into your prompt. Nothing crazy, just like a value of 2 to 4. And fourth, I think you should try your personalization code. Have fun. Random, random, random. I'm sure most of you know that you can ask for random art styles by using --SREF random in your prompt. But did you know that you can add more than one random? Like you can write --SREF random random random, and it will blend 3 random art styles for you. Is this necessary? Absolutely not, but it is something fun you can do in Midjourney. So we could type something like Batman --SREF random random random, and when we hit enter, Midjourney will have combined 4 random codes for us, and look how cool that picture is. I'm a big fan of exploring Midjourney through this technique. I like to call this the staircase. And this is a cool workflow for you to explore Midjourney. It actually involves the previous tip, using SREF random. You can choose your subject, or you can use a void prompt, just a couple of symbols like 2 quotation marks. Midjourney will take the word random and turn it into a style code for you. Pretty standard, right? Once you've made the first generation, you're going to reuse the prompt and then insert the word random again. It's really cool to see how the image evolves as each style becomes more diluted. Let me show you how it works. Let's try a void prompt, so that's just 2 quotation marks. We're going to type --SREF random and hit enter. And there you go, Midjourney chose this random art style for us, and it is associated with this code right here. What I want you to do is click on use right below the prompt, and then I simply want you to type the word random after that code. Again, you can copy the word random using Control or Command C, just to make this easier. We'll hit enter. And then now, while this was generating, we could click use again, go up to our prompt after our codes, and hit Control or Command V to paste the word random into the prompt. Hit enter, and we're going to do the same thing a couple of more times. So we'll start with images like these at the bottom, and as we add more style codes, more steps to the staircase, we'll get images like these and beyond. Isn't it cool? Let me show you some more examples though. I like these a lot. We start with these really gritty, dark purple, pink pictures down here at the bottom. And then as we develop the staircase, we start turning into these. And I'd say these are very different from when we first started. And then take a look at how Batman develops here. Go from the bottom to the top. As we add more and more style codes, look at what it turns into. Isn't that wild? Look how cool this is. That's like one of my favorite pictures, and it came through all of those codes. Pixel dimensions. This is an extra handy tip if you're using Midjourney for any specific project and you need exact dimensions. Let's say you need to create a banner that is 940 pixels by 335. You can do that by using --AR 940 by 335. Pretty cool, right? Big thanks to Eurosocial for teaching me that a long time ago, and if you want more tips along those lines, and if you want someone to walk you through everything, you can check out my beginner course in the description below. And when you do this with big numbers, Midjourney will find the lowest value that is associated with that ratio. In this case, 188 by 67 is the same as 940 by 335. Ask for art. This one is kind of silly, but the impact of the word art on your generation is not insignificant. Check out Art Deco versus Art Deco art. You see the difference? That's pretty stark, pretty crazy, pretty stunning, big contrast between the two, with one change, that being the word art. I guess what I'm saying is that if you're trying to generate a specific style but it's not coming through in the way you were hoping for, maybe the word art will get you closer to your goal. Main subject choice. Special thanks to Sideways Design for this tip. It's a different way to view how you write prompts and a different way to direct the composition of your scene. The basic lesson is that the first thing you mention in your prompt will be considered the main subject, the emphasis, and depending on what you emphasize, the bot will generate different looking scenes. The example that was shared with me was how a person walking in the city park will compose an image that has a person in the center and fairly close to the camera, whereas a city park with a person walking will widen the angle to view more of the park, with the person landing somewhere else in the frame, usually farther away from the viewer. I think this is a fascinating insight that can give us some extra control, and maybe you didn't realize it was even possible. Check out these examples. A cat sleeping on a sunny windowsill. Pretty standard, right? A cute cat front and center. But rearranging the prompt just a little bit to a sunny room with a cat sleeping on a windowsill, and we put our emphasis on the room rather than the cat. Quite a big difference in composition, wouldn't you say? Or this example, a guitarist strumming under a street lamp at night. We see the man as the focus of the frame. Whereas you could change it to a dimly lit street with a guitarist playing. And we get these beautiful shots, and that's all you needed to do was rearrange the prompt just a little bit. Subtle remix. Special thanks to 6-Act Structure for this next tip, and it involves getting the most out of Midjourney's two most recent models. A familiar opinion online is that version 6 made more realistic looking characters. It's kind of hard to explain, but version 6.1 looks a little off when it comes to skin tones, but it still provides better looking images overall. Let me show you a quick comparison. Here's version 6, and there's version 6.1. Same seed, same photo, just it looks a little different, right? Version 6 to 6.1. Something's a little off. So what you can do is generate your character in version 6 and then use the subtle remix to bring that character into version 6.1. Subtle remix is extremely subtle, and we can use that to our advantage with this trick. All you need to do is generate in version 6, click Remix Subtle on your character, and then we're simply going to add 0.1 after version 6. And when we hit enter, you'll be greeted with generations like this, and maybe you'll be more happy with one of these images. Character sheet. I have a character sheet prompt trick for you, and I know that mentioning multiple expressions or poses is quite common, but did you know that specifically referring to these poses can help create a 360-degree view of your character? Write a prompt like this: a character sheet for your character in different poses and angles, including front view, side view, and back view. You'll also want to use a wider aspect ratio for something like this. 16:9 is okay, but I think 3:1 might be even better. That's pretty cool, right? Take a look at this other example. I think it worked out even better. Here's a retro roaring 20s wizard, and look how it includes every angle that you could possibly ask for. I think that happened because we included those references in the prompt directly. Font creation. Here is a really niche tip for when you want to create your own fonts. The basic idea is that we're going to create one letter to start, but then we want to create other letters in the same style. And I taught people how to do this by using permutations, like a curly bracket, then A in quotation marks, comma, B in quotation marks, etc., etc. But that's a little painful to write out every time, so I'm thankful for Reiki76 who pointed out a much simpler way of generating these extra letters. You can write them like this. First, put a quotation mark and then place all of your letters inside of the curly brackets. Make sure you close it with quotation marks and that will run all of those letters for you. That's a super niche tip, but it's super helpful to that particular workflow. Spot the difference. Here's another extremely niche tip for you, but this is how you can create the idea of a spot the difference activity page. The basic idea is to create a detailed scene, right? Like a messy room or a knolling photo of a bunch of objects. And then we are going to use the Midjourney editor, or InPainting as it's known as, and simply select a few of these random objects. Midjourney will change around those small instances that you selected, and you'll have a before and after spot the difference page. Now, I don't want to hype this up too much because Midjourney isn't that great with small details, as you can see here, but there's no reason why this workflow won't be more effective in the future. You could even mix and match different parts of the pictures, since you'll get at least 4 for each generation. All you need is a basic program like Canva or even Microsoft Paint. And maybe you don't even need to sell these professionally if you want to keep some kids busy and develop their attention to detail by creating scenes in their favorite art style. This trick will certainly help with that. Self-portrait. Check out this self-portrait prompt. A happy artist stands in front of their self-portrait. A cool digital frame holds the portrait. I use different stylized values. I tried style raw. You can mention different frames that will hold the picture. Granted, you can't use this with a picture of yourself right now, but it does work pretty well with existing Midjourney images, as in using character reference. The Midjourney team has straight up said that character reference works better with native Midjourney images. Now, I still don't know how the system could possibly know that, but I think it's pretty clear when you test this yourself. Photogram. Try Photogram in your prompt. The results are so pretty. You could say photogram of your subject or your subject photogram. It doesn't really matter, Midjourney will get the idea. And to take this definition from Google, the photogram is an image made without a camera by placing an object directly onto the surface of a light-sensitive material and then exposing it to light. It's definitely a mix of like X-ray vision and surreal assets. Organization. Creating a lot of images can get pretty messy, especially when you're trying to find your style reference codes, considering most of these codes are like 10 digits long. We can take advantage of one specific feature to make all of this easier, and that is folders. Special thanks to Nocturne Cat for pointing this one out. You can make a smart folder with --SREF as the filter, and all of your images made using style reference will show up in one place. Now, actually, inside of this folder, it will include both SREF codes and any picture made with a style reference. It's not the perfect solution to keeping track of your codes, but at least you can find them all in one place. Chaotic blend. I want you to image prompt 2 or more images together and then use the chaos and stylized values. Because if you took 2 pictures and image prompted them together, and you did this 100 times, even though there are 4 billion seeds, you'll get the same looking generations every time. That's just sort of how blending works right now. But there are 2 parameters that you can use to spice up the generation. Those are chaos and stylize. Chaos is set to 0 by default and can be any value above 0 and below 100, while stylize is at 100 for default and ranges between 0 and 1000. Out of both of these, I think chaos is more important to this demonstration. Take a look at this generation with chaos 5, and then look at what happens to the grid as we raise the chaos value. Chaos 20, each image is starting to look a little more different from one another. Chaos 20 with stylize 500. And then look at Chaos 50. Now these are extremely different from where we first started. You can even include the weird parameter --W 0 to 3000. I don't really recommend this one though because things can get pretty weird. The Photoshoot Switcheroo. Here's a bit of a random photoshoot trick and it's really simple. Generate a picture of a subject in a certain style, any style, and then remix the prompt and change the style. It's really that simple, but it can result in some cool pictures, like taking this hippie into a cyberpunk vibe. A hippie style love portrait, remix strong, cyberpunk style love portrait. Are there other ways to get this outcome? Like, yeah, probably, but this is one thing you can try. And it also works when referencing specific people, as in character reference. And then one extra bonus tip, after you've remixed once, try remixing again, but this time not changing anything. It's a little way to go farther into the algorithm. So you go remix strong and then hit enter. And maybe we end up with something like these. Stickers galore. Now this tip won't work if you have a very specific logo that you want to replicate. At least not right now. But if you have a general idea for your logo, or your brand includes initials like mine, FTP, here's what you can do to create a lot of cool sticker ideas. We're going to use an extremely basic prompt and then include --SREF random as well as the repeat parameter. So something like this. A logo for FTP --SREF random and then --repeat followed by a value. I'm going with repeat 5, and all that means is that it's going to run this prompt 5 times. Because we have SREF random on, we're going to see 5 different random styles be generated for us. They're not all going to be gold, but we can find some really unique images here that we can use for our stickers. Like out of all these, I think these are so cool. That's amazing. Remember, SREF random plus the repeat parameter. Family matters. Midjourney is actually really good at creating believable families of characters when used in one prompt. Now, I guess I suggest keeping it as minimal as possible, like 2 characters tops, maybe 3, because the more you ask for, the more of a challenge it is for the bot. Again, at least right now. I also recommend trying your prompt in style raw or including a style reference like Vogue or Unsplash, something to get a realistic image. Otherwise, your generation might end up as an illustration. And feel free to mention any specific features or attributes that your family might have. Like here we have something simple, a portrait of a mother and her son, silver spiky hair. Really simple prompt. You could try a mother and her daughter, Unsplash. One of the reasons I recommend something like Unsplash is so that we don't end up with illustrations like this. And wouldn't you agree that these characters really do look like they're related? You could try a portrait of a boy and his grandfather dressed like gentlemen, that works well too. You could get a little crazy with something like an orc family. Although this one doesn't always work, sometimes the kids end up human and that's just a little weird. I thought this generation worked out really well. Here's a portrait of a family, 3 generations, a young girl with her mother and grandmother, blonde hair and blue eyes, Unsplash. I'd say, yeah, these people do look like they're related, right? Aging through time. Speaking of familiarity, here's how you can see the same character at different ages, and a special thanks to filmmaker Zach for this tip. For your prompt, you'll want to mention maybe a camera type, an initial age, and some defining feature. I think hairstyle works pretty well because it's easily adjusted. Like an iPhone photo of a 15-year-old boy with long black hair. You also might want to lower the stylized value and use style raw to make the bot listen to you more. Then the trick is to use the remix feature to adjust the age and description of the prompt. Make sure you use remix strong, I think it works way better than subtle. So instead of a 15-year-old boy with long hair, we're going to change it to a 30-year-old man with medium hair. You can also use the same seed number, but I'm not sure how important that really is. I'll show you an example of that later on. And we'll get something like this, but then we can change it even more. And eventually end up with an iPhone photo of a 50-year-old man dressed like a gentleman with short black hair. I think that's a pretty cool transition of the character. Let me show you one more example. Here I started with an iPhone photo of a 30-year-old woman with blonde hair and blue eyes. Style raw, stylize 0, and seed number 8249. We'll go into remix, and then a quick way to make more of these changes is to use permutations. So instead of a 30-year-old woman, I can input curly brackets and then a bunch of different ages. 10, 15, 20, 25, 40, 50, etc, etc. You can write as many ages as you'd like. Now, not every single generation will look like the original character. It's not quite working like that, but at least one of them should be pretty close. So there's no, but I think that one works. Then here they are at 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 45 maybe, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. That's pretty cool. Cosplay, am I right? A great way to generate a character in different outfits is to use the word cosplay in your prompt. You can use this for different events or themes or entire TV shows like Star Wars. Here I have a woman cosplaying as a Jedi. I use this character as a character reference, a little bit of chaos, and a character weight of 0. And we can see her cosplaying as a Jedi. A little extra bonus tip is to maybe try this with your personalization code. I don't know what it'll look like for you, but you might find some really cool pictures this way. Reimagined. Use that word in your prompt, reimagined. It's a lot of fun to try. You can ask for basically anything to be reimagined as something else, like a couch reimagined as a fridge. I think one animal to another seems to work the best, and I want to say I don't know who found this trick, but I remember seeing people use it in the Super User Club on Discord, so I apologize to whoever isn't getting the credit they deserve. This one is awesome. Check out this walrus with a little bit of a mane as he was reimagined as a lion. Or this husky reimagined as a bird. Isn't that so cool? Doesn't Midjourney do such a good job at this really abstract concept? Ooh, I like this one a lot too. Or how about these mouse reimagined as fish? A car reimagined as a desk lamp. I guess that's a little cyber trucky, but still cool nonetheless. A poodle reimagined as a dolphin. Okay, this is a little scary, but I think you get the point. Pixel art. If you're looking for consistent pixel art, I think this workflow will help you the most. Like here, I tried generating 8-bit pixel art until I found something I liked. I thought this looked beautiful, so I'm gonna drag this into the prompt box, and then I'm gonna make sure style reference is selected. In the prompt box, you can write any scene that you like. I'm going to use Permutations to run all these prompts at once. But we're still not done. I think you should also add the style weight parameter to your prompt. --SW, and then I suggest going all the way to 1000. This means that this picture will have the most amount of influence possible on the next generation. And if you're still not happy with the results, there's one more thing you can try, and that is style version. --SV, and then either 1, 2, or 3. 4 is the default, so we've already tried that, but one of these other versions might get you closer to your vision. Like here's style version 1, and that's interesting. I like these. Style version 2 is quite different, right? And then we have style version number 3, which is also a different look. And one of these might be what you wanted the most. Where is it? If you're using the website, but it seems like you're missing some options, like the aspect ratio changer, you might be zoomed in too much or not enough. Let me show you. At 125%, I am missing one of the options over here to change my aspect ratio. If I were to zoom out a little more, I would see it right here. This is where I can change the ratio manually. At 125, it's missing, but it also appears when I zoom in just a little more. Just keep that in mind. If you see something on my screen that you don't have, maybe you need to adjust the zoom of your web page as a whole. Website to Discord. If you create images on Discord, they show up on the website. However, if you create images on the website, they do not show up on Discord. But you can get around this. If we open our picture of Batman on the beach, and we click this little option button up here, and then click open in Discord, it's not going to work. Discord URL is not available. That's fine. Here's how we can get around it. We can click on that option again, go to copy, and then job ID. Job ID is copied to clipboard. Now we can go into Discord. We can use the /show command. Click on show job ID. We're going to use Control V or Command V to paste that ID into the prompt box. And when we hit enter, the bot will bring up that grid as if we made it on Discord. That's pretty cool, right? This might come in handy for you, especially for this next trick, video grids. Try a video generator with a Midjourney grid. I've been experimenting with Luma Dream Machine recently, and it's a lot of fun. To do this particular trick, you'll need to generate on Discord first, or use that tip I just showed you to bring up your website generations. You'll then save the entire grid as one picture and use that as an input for Luma. I like to leave my prompt blank, but also check off Enhance Prompt. It just seems to work a little better. This Batman one didn't work out very well, but let me show you some others. That's amazing. Oh, I love that one so much. I think it works great for a grid of people as well. I mean, it's not perfect, but this is a pretty cool effect. Or this one's kind of funny because it doesn't know that the grid should stay a grid completely, and it sort of blends together. I don't know, I think this can be a lot of fun. Quality. If you didn't know, you can actually ask Midjourney to take a little longer to generate in exchange for a higher quality image. To do this, you can add --Q and then the number 2 at the end of your prompts. This will cost more of your fast hours though. Alternatively, you can lower the quality to --Q 0.5 to receive your generations faster and cheaper. But should you? Let me show you this example and then you can tell me what you think. This is a portrait in weaving style at quality 0.5. I use the same seed to generate this picture in other quality values, and this is what it will look like. There's quality 1 and there's quality 2. Can you tell a difference other than the pictures being a little different? But the actual quality, can you see anything? Let's go through another example. Here's another picture from the same grid in 0.5. Here it is in 1, and there it is in 2. Again, can you see the difference? Do you like one of them more? Last example, 0.5, 1, and 2. Which one do you like more? Is it worth generating? I don't know. And then take a look at what happens when we use the subtle upscaler on these different quality generations. Here's the 0.5 base to the upscale. Is there a difference? I'll do a quick back and forth. Like, very, very minor. Here's quality 1 to the upscale, and here's quality 2 to the upscale. I guess the point of this tip is that upscaling on different qualities doesn't really matter, but there is a big difference between the quality values. 0.5 will get you images quicker and cheaper, but quality 2 will take a little more time, cost a little more, and maybe add something that you were hoping for. Experiment and let me know what you think. Expiration. I got this comment recently from Monkey Farm Incorporated telling me that Midjourney changed how fast hours work. Apparently they sent out an email. I never got one, but here's the change. Starting October 1st, fast hours that you purchase will expire after 60 days. Now, I have to say, I don't think they expired before. I'm pretty sure if you bought fast hours, they just stayed with you forever. Now you do have a 60-day limit. And you can see this when you go into your subscription settings, buy more fast hours, and it does say here, purchase fast hours expire after 60 days and require an active subscription to use. Maybe that just helps them allocate their computer power a little better. Either way, I didn't know about this change, so maybe it's worth letting you know in case you missed it as well. A card trick. Here's a fun one to try if you're interested in making playing cards of any style. First, you're going to find a card design that you like. I actually found this one on the Explore page, so shout out to Anakova for this one. I ran the prompt myself, so I had the generation, and then this is what you're going to do. You're going to go into the editor and simply select everything except the outside of the image. It can be a little crude, you don't need to be exact, but what this is going to do is it's going to keep the border and allow us to change what appears in the middle. So instead of a blue and gold fortune-telling card with an Inquisitor, I'm going to change up the color and the subject. Here I went with a pink fortune-telling card of an android angel. And I didn't really like a lot of these, but I thought number 4 fit the style correctly, so what I did was hit very strong. And that will get us more results like these. And I'm sure you'll like one of those a lot more than the others. Play around with theme, play around with subject, play around with color. This is an amazing way to create a unique, beautiful, and consistent card set. Arrangement. Another fun word for you to try in your prompt is arranged, as in arrangement. Pick your subject, pick your scene, and then pick a shape. I tried triangles, circles, spirals, hexagons, and the results are really cool to look at. Like Batman arranged in triangles. You could try the coral reef under Atlantis arranged in spirals. Look how amazing that is. Oh, those are so beautiful. Look at that. It's a way to add geometry and like a meta structure to your composition. Batman arranged in hexagons is pretty cool. Even add some stylize, a little chaos, and the weird parameter, you can get some pretty cool generations. The P list. I'm a big fan of the personalization system, but every time you rank more images, your code will change. It can be kind of difficult to keep track of these changes, but there is one thing you can do on Discord. We're going to use the /list p command. This will bring up every code you've ever created. There's quite a bit to go through, and that's why it's so hard to keep track on your own. I have 24 total, and hopefully this gets built into the main Midjourney website sooner than later. Editor workflow. When you find an image you like but you have some inpainting to do, it's tempting to fix everything in one go, but you should be fixing things one at a time. If you try to correct like 5 different spots, the odds are incredibly slim that we'll be able to fix all the parts in the same picture. Like here I have an Art Nouveau style festival, and I think this is a beautiful picture, but some of these things just aren't quite right. So we go into the editor, and then instead of marking everything that you want to be fixed, I really do suggest going one at a time. If we try to fix them all in one go, we might get results like this. Some of those pictures got some parts right, but none of them fixed everything the way I wanted. That is why I suggest editing one spot at a time. So maybe we'll start with these characters down here and we'll hit submit, and then we'll find one we like best, like this image. Then we go into editor and maybe we change this shape down here. We'll hit submit and we'll pick one of these images that we like, and then we'll go in and we'll edit the rest. Trust me, this will save you some headaches. You probably can't fix everything at once, go one at a time. Make a GIF. Now let me explain. First, I think you should create in a square aspect ratio to start, and then expand it into a wider canvas. This will get you a steady framed composition, and then you can create cool effects or a GIF by changing what shows up around it. And just a little extra tip, I suggest raising the chaos value when you're editing your prompt. Raise it to something like chaos 50 or even higher to get the most interesting results that will look cool when you cycle through them. This gave me a bunch of results like these. Then what I did was download all of those individual pictures and upload them to this site, Easy GIF. You can find these files on your computer, and then you want to click upload files. Once that's done, it will look something like this, and to be honest, I don't know what these settings actually do, but from here you can go down and click make a GIF, and it will create something like this for you, and I think you can have a lot of fun with this technique. Maybe you could even keep a static background and change the faces in the scene. Stretch it out. I feel like I had to include this one because my favorite aspect ratios to use recently have been 3:1 and 1:3. Something about the composition is just unreal, and if you want, you can expand the canvas after that. First of all, in your gallery in the search bar, you can just type in the aspect ratio you're looking for. Look how how cool some of these are. It's just amazing how the image and the subject stretch for the canvas. I think this aspect ratio works great when you're doing style reference random, and in general, I just like seeing what Midjourney comes up with when it is forced to create on a wide or vertically stretched canvas. My P. Here's a fun little workflow you can try. It's simple, quick, and interesting. I like going through the explore page and finding pictures I like. I'll click use prompt, but then I'll add --p at the end. So it will run this prompt with my own personalization code. This makes sure the results are uniquely mine, and it's fascinating to see my style in all of these different prompts. Prompts I would never normally run by myself. Like, let's take this cow for example. Click on it. Editorial photo, cow uses eyeglasses. That's kind of funny. We'll go down to use prompt. I'll hit space and then I'll type --p. And look how beautiful some of these pictures are. And then there's our cow. Not bad, right? Clean up your create page. I actually suggested this in my website wishlist video, but it turns out it's already possible. So special thanks to jgreg95 for pointing this one out. Albeit it's a little impractical, but you can hide individual image on the create page by avoiding this hide button on the grid. Instead, we're going to go into the image itself, click this little extra option button at the top, and then click hide. Now on the create page, it won't be there anymore. And like I said in my wishlist video, I was hoping there'd be a button here just to do this a lot quicker. Either way, it is possible and that's how you do it. But it is funny, if you look close enough, you can kind of see the outline of the cow. I mean, the glasses there, can you see it? Maybe I can bump up the contrast or something. Scorched Code. You gotta try this style reference code. From a distance, it doesn't look very special, but the closer you look, the more amazing it is. And you may have seen this in one of my previous examples, I don't know if I showed it. It is code 3610137247. Trust me, write that down. And I actually found this on the Midjourney Explore page, so special thanks to Chibi Kaga. That is where I got this from. And I apologize if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Let me show you this code in action. Look at the way it's able to portray a grungy texture, the white, the black, and the orange all mixed. But also a little bit of illumination in the orange really sets it apart. The fact that there are no real clean lines and that you can see the layers of each color, I think it makes this code super special. Like, that is amazing. This code works great for every aspect ratio. Look how pretty that is. It worked great for any subject I tried. I could not get enough of this look. And here's a reason why I love the 1:3 ratio so much. Look how beautiful that picture is. Like, it's so interesting. Trust me, try this SREF code. The shape of X. I have to say special thanks to Youthful on Discord. I'm not sure if I pronounced your name correctly, and I'm not sure if they're the ones who created this, but I saw it being passed around in the super user group. Basically, you'll prompt for a 3-dimensional shape like a cube or a sphere, and then a subject. Also, I found that this works best when you use a square aspect ratio. Like, here's a really simple prompt, a cube of comic book art. It kind of turns it into this Rubik's Cube, right? But I think it can be so beautiful. You could try a cube of coral. Like, that's amazing. Also a big fan of that transparent look right there. You could try something like vintage pop art. Isn't that beautiful? You could get a little risque with your prompt. Here's futuristic pop art. Either way, the geometric shape really holds the piece together. Oh my god, that's amazing. If I had that on my desk, I think that would be so cool. Check this, a cube of neon art deco art. Like, isn't that stunning? Oh my god, I can't get enough of that. But it doesn't have to stop there. You could try spheres as your shape. And I think that's brilliant as well. Ooh, I like that a lot. And then look what the idea of a pyramid brings to it. Granted, these might be a little more abstract than the cube, but I still think they're so much fun to look at. That's a crazy picture. Adjusting the strength. Recently, JGM Live left me a comment and asked, if their prompt contains both an SREF and their personalization code, is there a way to weight these codes? Like, if they only wanted a small amount of the SREF code to affect the image, but they wanted their personalization code to dominate the style. How would they go about that? They said they tried using multi-prompting, but it wasn't working out. So I ran some experiments, and unfortunately you can't add weights to parameters with 2 colons, the traditional multi-prompting way. But here's what you can do. You can use some additional parameters to control the strength of those 2 features. For --p, we can use the stylized parameter --s. That's going to control the influence of your personalized style. 100 is the default, lower it for less influence, and raise it to 1000 for the maximum U. Meanwhile, for a style reference code, we can use the style weight parameter --sw to control the strength of the style. Again, 100 is the default, lower it for less influence, and raise it to 1000 for the max. Let's go through a live example with that Scorched Code from earlier. Let's go with a mechanical armadillo ready for war. We have our SREF code, and then we're going to add --p to see the base results. Then we will change the different values. Okay, maybe my prompt wasn't that great, but I do like these results a lot. Now let's change the influence of each part of the prompt. This first example, S40 SW500, is going to lower the weight of our personal style and raise the influence of that Scorched Code. And these are the results. What do you think? The pictures are quite different in my opinion. The black is a lot darker, and maybe the subject itself is a little more obscured in the image. Now, if we flip those values and we raise the stylize to 500, increasing the influence of our personalization code while decreasing the style weight down to 40, these are the results. And whoa, those are super different. Just goes to show you, same prompt, same parameters can result in very different looking images if you change the weight of those parameters. Keep this one in mind. Are you feeling nostalgic? If you're around my age, you might want to try Unreal Engine render with a low stylized value in Niji Journey for early 2000s computer graphics. I know that's pretty specific, but we're going to prompt for a subject and then add the words Unreal Engine render. Then we are going to lower the stylized value, and this works great when you also include Niji Journey as the version. I lowered the stylized to 25, and this is in Niji 6. Doesn't this remind you of a time where all computer graphics look like this? Like, this person, this character has never existed, but that is so nostalgic to me. Look at Wonder Woman. That is so early 2000s. Honestly, it probably looks better than I'm remembering, but either way, this is how you can get that look. Discover new styles. Okay, this is a bit of a weird workflow, but bear with me here. First, you're going to use SREF random until you see a style that you like. Then you're going to save those pictures to your computer and send them to ChatGPT. You're going to ask GPT some possible names for that style, and then you're going to use those names in a new prompt. For the prompt, I like to write, what would you call this style? Please provide as many choices as possible, and please be creative. GPT will list out a bunch of different names. Some of them will suck, but some of them will be extremely unique and inspiring to try. From that process, I got styles like minimalist manga tech. I think those look really cool. Another one I liked was pen stroke pop. Gorgeous. And then check this one, retro mod collage. Couple of fun words to put together, and look how beautiful those are. I like neon abstractica a lot. Cyber etch-a-sketch style is a fun one for sure. And then check this one of my favorite words I've ever seen. Orchodontrix. Like, that is an incredible word that GPT came up with all on its own in response to a style I had given it. This one can be a lot of fun. It'll help you find new styles. And that's maybe one of the best parts of AI in general. Complete and assisted exploration of your imagination. Character in style. Here's a workflow for how you can see your character as another character in a specific style. First, your task is to find a style that you like this Niji generation for Wonder Woman. The second part is using that picture as a style reference for your next prompt and bumping up the style weight to 1000. You're going to keep the words in the prompt the same, Wonder Woman or whatever character you chose, and then you're going to add a picture of your own character. We're going to make sure character reference is selected on our character, and we are going to lower the character weight parameter all the way down to 0. You can keep your personalization code, and you can keep Niji Journey if you want, but these are the results you'll get. Look how cool that is. That's amazing. Here are some other examples of different characters I used, and look how cool it is when it keeps that consistent style. Like, this is such a good way of getting a consistent character to play as another character. A more well-known character. There's Eliza. Do you remember her? Isn't this amazing? Oh, that's so cool. I even tried it with this picture of a dog, and Midjourney didn't quite recognize it, but it got the sunglasses correct. I don't know. This is a lot of fun to me, at least. Style Safari. If you're interested in different styles like me, you gotta check this website out. And a special thanks to Prompt Siren, I'm pretty sure that's who put this all together. It is a gigantic catalog of different style reference codes. So many to choose from, and so many ways to sort through it. You can search by keywords. If I click on surrealism here, it'll take me to all of the codes that have been tagged with that keyword. I'm sure this was a ton of work to put together, and I couldn't be more grateful. Please consider using this website if you're searching for codes yourself. Lineage. Shout out to Simon Gotts8126 for inspiring this suggestion. In my last video, I showed you how to see a person at different ages, but how about a person in different ages? And this time, instead of remix, we are going to use the character reference feature. Lowering the character weight is important. Lowering the stylized value is probably important. Style raw can help, but I'm not sure if it's necessary, and removing any color details might help for older pictures. Like if you want a black and white photo, it might help to remove that your character has blonde hair and blue eyes, you know? It might also help to describe the quality of the photo, as in a grainy VHS. And you know what? The older you're going, the more you want to avoid the word photo altogether. Instead, try something like depiction or portrayal. So we have our character selected as a character reference, and the prompt is something like a newspaper photo of a 30-year-old woman with blonde hair and blue eyes. CW0, stylized 0, style raw. And like, isn't that incredible? Like, that's such a cool picture. It's not necessarily a newspaper photo, but Midjourney understood that I wanted something that looked a little older. It aged her hair in this vintage way. I think that's so awesome. Check out these 1940s photos. Oh my God, these are so beautiful. It captures the way that light hits perfectly. So this is like the ancestor of our woman taking a selfie with an iPhone. We can go even farther back with an 1850 aristocrat photo. Instead of saying just 1850, it does help when you add a little more context to sort of ground the generation with either a job or some sort of status symbol. I think that helps a lot. Like that's amazing. A 13th century depiction, look how good that is. A black and white photo of a 30-year-old farmer woman in the 1850s. Like that's historic right there. A 1920s flapper photo of a 30-year-old woman. In this case, no style raw, and I use the default stylized value. Play around with the parameters. You might like one of these settings more than the other. That's amazing. I like that one a lot. The black and white photo, like, oh, that's so cool. The VHS quality photo is a lot of fun, but remember I said you should try considering words like grainy to add a little bit of texture to the generation? This is by far one of my favorite things to do. That's incredible. Or even this, an ancient Worley mural. There is so much to experiment with, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Use Midjourney as an upscaler. This involves the new editor, and while you may not have access to it at the moment, this will surely come in handy in the future. To use the editor, you need at least 10,000 images made, or a yearly membership, or 12 consecutive months with a subscription. When you go into the new editor, you can upload an image from your computer or a URL. I found this picture of Carlos Delgado from like 2004. It's 350 by 226 pixels. This is a blurry mess. What we're going to do is lower the brush size, and then all we need to do is make a very small selection somewhere on the picture. Like, that's it. Right there at the top. It's so small you can't even see it. We need to write something in our prompt. It can be anything, keep it short, one word works, yeah. And then we'll click on Submit Edit. This is going to create 4 options for you, and they're all going to be blurry still, but that's not the trick. What we need to do is scroll down here and click Upscale to Gallery, which means it's going to take this picture and turn it into something like this. Isn't that wild? Look how clear and crisp that picture is now. That is from like 20 years ago. Midjourney is able to upscale it, and I think this is so cool. Experiment without commitment. You gotta try this. You can see yourself with tattoos. Again, this is using the new Midjourney editor, and I didn't even realize you could do this until Midjourney accidentally served up this picture for me. Look how funny that is. Isn't that hilarious? All you need to do is upload an image, erase parts that you want to change, and enter a prompt. Okay, I kind of screwed up by erasing parts of my face, which is why it looks a little funny. But isn't this awesome? Again, experiment with tattoos without commitment. Suggested prompt. If you are using the new editor and you want to add something to the image, your prompt might be getting in the way. InPainting can be a little tricky sometimes, so try this. Upload your image and then look for Suggest Prompt. This is basically the describe feature. Midjourney is going to write a prompt that describes this scene. Then in order to InPaint, we're just going to adjust the prompt slightly. So let's erase a part of the image, and then we'll go up here. Right after a wide shot of the beach in Vietnam, I'm going to write a Godzilla-like monster is emerging from the water. And look at that result in particular. Isn't that wild? Don't forget about the suggested prompt. Silver point. Big special thanks to Alicia from my my school community, the Future Tech Academy. She shared the word silver point with us, and look what it creates. I had never heard of this myself, and I'm blown away. It's such a simple word, but it can create such a strong effect. That word will generate these very intricate, desaturated drawings. Isn't that so cool? Simple, easy to remember. Try silver point. A new workflow. Here is a new workflow for your long Midjourney sessions. Create all your pictures normally, and then you're going to right-click on the pictures you like and click like. Simple, right? Then in your gallery, you can filter by liked images, and then it's easy to download them. Select the entire day, boom, there you go. Hide images easier. Building off that last trick, and something I didn't realize until multiple people pointed it out in my last video, you can also hide images after right-clicking. Look, if you've made a bunch of generations, your creation feed can seem pretty hectic. I just think it's a good habit to clean up your feed as you go along by using the hide feature. Keep your hands on the mouse. They finally added a button that you can click on to submit your jobs. Before, you had to use the enter key on your keyboard. Now you can simply click this button at the top. So it's like you write your prompt and then you use your mouse to open those options, then you can keep your hand on the mouse and click the submit button. I don't want to take credit for this, but I'm gonna take credit for this. I actually left this as feedback on the Discord channel. I said there should be a button beside the prompt box that you can click to run the generation. David himself responded, "Why is it important to have a button?" And I tried to explain myself a little. Because sometimes I'll have one hand on my keyboard for copy and pasting like parts of a prompt or SREF codes, and then I'll have one hand on my mouse. It was hard to get into a flow state when I had to constantly take my hand off the mouse in order to hit enter on my keyboard. I thought it was pretty simple, and I guess their team agreed. I hope this one makes you more comfortable too. Amused. Facial expressions can be difficult to control in Midjourney because if you don't mention anything in your prompt, you'll probably generate a character with a very stern and cold look. Definitely soulless. And if you use words like excited or even happy, you might get some wide-eyed monstrosity showing you a lot of teeth. Not ideal either. So try this word in your prompts when you want a realistic smile. Amused. Amused generates the perfect resemblance of a satisfied human. Pareidolia. This is actually that psychological phenomenon where people can see faces in random objects. And if you use that specific word, it's going to trigger a really specific effect. Like, look at these, how funny is that? The word itself is pretty cool and surreal, but look what happens when you use other objects in the prompt. Like, look how funny that is. The bubbles are acting as eyes, but it has a reflection. Like, that is so cool. I know this one's a little weird, but maybe you'll find the perfect use case for it someday. Search is so powerful. You can actually search the entirety of Midjourney public images using that feature in the top right corner. When you're in the Organize tab, that search bar is going to take you through your images. But on the Explore page, you get to see everyone else's. But here's the crazy part. When you find something you like, click on it and then click that little search icon again. That magnifying glass. This will take you to a deeper layer where you will only see images that resemble the one you clicked on. This is a way to really hone in on a specific look. It's great for photography terms and looks like that. Synonyms. Piggybacking off some previous tips, you can even search for concepts like pareidolia, and it will actually show you images that match the definition even if they don't contain the word in the prompt. Isn't that wild? Like, what a sophisticated and fun search tool. You can learn all types of different ways to say the same thing. Like this one, a rock formation resembling an elephant's head, situated atop a mountain in China against a white background. No mention of pareidolia, but pareidolia brings up this picture. It's really cool. Or this one, a funny thing that only happens in Ohio. Why would Midjourney create this? I don't know, but Midjourney knows that this looks like the idea of pareidolia. Search your creations. You can search through your prompts on the Create page. This will help you get back to the full grid generation. Like maybe you have a picture in your gallery that you like, but you want to see the rest of the grid it came from. You can't really do that. But we can take some keywords, go to the creation page and search. And there it is. There's the grid it came from. That might come in handy for you. Random retexture. Going back to the new editor for a moment, you can use SREF random while you're retexturing. Like, take a look at this. So we'll click on retexture, and then at the end of the prompt, we can type --SREF random. Now, I guess I don't really know the style that this code creates, but we could expect results like this. Look how cool that is. is. I guess it's sort of a minimal, painterly melting look. I like that a lot. Don't forget about SREF random when you're using retexture. Retexture 2.0. So you can style reference with retexture, but image prompting is also kinda cool. Albeit it is a little hard to predict what will happen though. Let's take this black pen and ink sketch of an armadillo. I'll select this blue and orange picture as an example and I'll run it as a style reference. And like these are kinda cool or whatever, I don't mind that one. And that one too. But what happens if we turn this into an image prompt? It's gonna be a little different. Like look at that. Wow. Again, I don't know if it's easy to describe what the difference is, but there is a difference. You can even bump up the image weight, --IW and then a value of 3 at the end of your prompt. And that will create images like these. Holy cow, I just got goosebumps. Oh, look how intense and beautiful that is. I love the way the character extends past the black bars. Just so cool. Don't forget about that little trick, you might like the results. The triple. Building off that last one, let's hit a retexture with a triple reference. Style reference, character reference, and image prompt. To do that, we can hold shift on our keyboard to select more than one reference. Again, it's pretty hard to understand what's going to happen, but I'm a fan of this process. I think the results can be pretty cool. You could even hit them with the triple if you're feeling wild. Select 2 more images and then add all 3 references to both of them. Oh, dang, that one's cool. I like that one a lot too. Those white eyes, that's creepy. And consider adding a stop value to create that effect of a blurring image. Basically, Midjourney is going to stop the process at a certain point rather than 100%. 20 is probably a little low, 50 might even be a little low, but I thought 87 looked pretty cool. Like look at that, that's amazing. Think outside the box. Retexturing can do more than just change styles. It can change the entire subject. You just need to think outside the box a little bit. Like take this weird picture of a person in a Twyla Tharp pose. We can use the retexture to turn him into a leafy green bush in Central Park. Like look at that. That's wild. Midjourney definitely saw him as kind of like a cactus, I guess. Retexturing is going to keep the shape, which means that you can transform it into anything you can think of. Maybe simple is better. I know I just told you to think outside the box, but there might be an advantage of doing the opposite. If you run a retexture with the exact same prompt, you might develop some better images. Now this is really a case-by-case basis, but it can come in handy. If your original generation didn't work out the way you thought it would, take it in a retexture and run it with the exact same prompt. Here's a cinematic rendition of Optimus Prime wearing medieval armor. The background is a beach at sunset. And I think this picture is decent, I guess. But when I ran it through retexture with that prompt, it came out with these. Now they're not all good, but I like that one a lot. Do I like it better than the original? I don't know, but again, this is something to look out for. Before and after. Special thanks to the offsite agency, I found this prompt over on the Explore page. The basis of the prompt is describing a person's hair transformation. And as long as we focus on the hair, Midjourney does a surprisingly good job at keeping a consistent face. It also works pretty well with a character reference, but make sure you lower that character weight. So this example is something like a hair tint before and after photo. Left is blonde, right is fully colored neon blue. The woman is 30 years old. Left side shows dry frizzy hair and right shows shiny freshly styled hair straight out of the hair salon. White background, natural lighting, and realistic professional photography all help as well. Like look how cool that is. I think this is a fun way to create the illusion of an actual transformation for your character. Like isn't that unreal? And look at that. If you've actually made it this far, please leave a comment below so that I know you're one of the legends. I hope you've had a fun year with AI and I can't wait to see where the next 12 months takes us. I hope you're doing well, take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.